24, the City Council meeting. Our invocation will be provided by Laura Dean Wiley, Chair of God at Center Committee at the Truman Heritage Habitat for Humanity. Please stand for the invocation and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you would bow with me. Father God, I just want to thank you so much for our republic. I just want to thank you and provide the importance for those that have voted and for tomorrow's vote. Lord, I just ask that you be with us, provide us with a spirit of unity and discernment and wisdom and gratefulness, no matter the outcome. Lord, I just ask that you be with us as we serve and we act and as we work together. Lord, just thank you so much for the United States. In your name I pray.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears.
Here.
Councilmember Perkins.
Here.
Councilmember Stewart.
Here.
Councilmember McCandless.
Here.
Councilmember Wiley.
Here.
Councilmember Vaught.
Here.
Mayor Rowland.
Here. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. And Mr. Cover, I think you asked for a moment of personal privilege, and so the floor is yours.
I did. Thank you, sir. I'd like to introduce Liam Cover and Hudson Bauer. They are here tonight from Troop 323, working on their Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge and watching how everything happens with our City Council this evening. So I'd like to welcome them. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to have you here. And just as a footnote, yesterday I went to a Eagle Court of Honor, and it was 3 young ladies who received their Eagle in scouting. So, gentlemen, you have competition out there. Could I have a motion to move the iStar Award out of order, please?
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears.
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins.
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught.
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. And so we're going to do the iStar presentation here. That is Resolution 24778. I would like to have a motion and a second to approve this resolution for Stephanie Gervey, Administrative Assistant number 3, to receive the iStar Award this month.
So moved.
We've got a motion. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears.
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins.
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught.
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes, and the resolution passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And here's what we know about Stephanie. So, Stephanie, Tamara Bennetzin nominated you, and she said the reasons for nominating Stephanie were these. Stephanie is a person who performs above and beyond what is required. She always has a positive attitude every day, dealing with the public and with her peers. She's always makes herself available to help when anything comes up that may in fact be out of her normal daily duties. Another specific example is when with municipal services merging with the water department, Stephanie has accepted many new roles during this transition. Not only did she have to learn a new position, but she also continues to help daily with the old position that she had. Change is hard for all of us, but Stephanie took the approach that she would take on multiple roles and not once complained about her situation or the transition. Stephanie is currently the administrator for 3 different facilities and continues to meet the needs of all 3 without any complaints. So well done, Stephanie. So we have your resolution for you, and so please come forward. And the next item, we have a proclamation. The Harry S. Truman chapter of the Missouri Society of the American Revolution recognizes Veterans Day. And whereas on this day, the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women who served in the armed forces is a vital part of maintaining our freedom and our way of life. And whereas tens of millions of Americans have served in the armed forces in the United States during the past century, and whereas hundreds of thousands of Americans have given their lives while serving the armed forces during this past century. And whereas our state is home for more than 425,000 veterans, 400,000 active duty military, 11,000 National Guard and Reserves, and their families. And whereas the veterans are brave and selfless individuals who, when duty called, put themselves in harm's way to defend the lives and liberty that we all enjoy. And therefore, I want to recognize the Harry S. Truman chapter for the Missouri Society of American Revolution, recognizing Veterans Day proclamation on their behalf. So, Mr. Grover, if you can come forward to receive the proclamation. And while he's coming forward, I just found out last week that the library genealogy did a whole genealogy on my family, and now I can be eligible for the Sons of American Revolution. It just all depends if Mr. Grover would let me in. Very good. Well, thank you for your service. Okay, perfect. Now we have citizens' request. Can I have a motion to suspend the rules to allow out-of-city residents or out-of-city citizens to speak?
So moved.
We've got a motion. We have a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. The rules have been suspended, and we will go to citizens' request. The first person up is Merle Long. Merle, please come forward to the microphone right here. Thank you, Merle, and you'll have 5 minutes, please.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Directly to your right is the...
That's perfect, Merle, right there.
Right there?
Please.
Okay, thank you. I'm here today in behalf of the Allied Workers for the Blind, and we're here to listen to the proposals and changes coming to the transit system in the Independence area. We understand that Iris is one of those changes and had some questions about that. I'm new to this process, so I'm not sure if I propose those questions now or wait.
You can propose the questions, and our city manager is going to take notes, and he'll respond to those.
Okay, thank you. Iris, I understand, is a provisional transit that you have to go to a prescribed place in order to receive a ride. My question was, is there a door-to-door exception for persons who have mobility limitations, vision limitations? That was mainly what my concern was. I think that's all I have at this point. Like I said, I apologize. I'm new to this.
No worries, Mr. Long, and he will answer that question for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Renee Robbie? Roby, please forgive me. And Renee, come on forward. Okay.
So I was here last 2 weeks ago at the meeting. I guess what I want to know is if there's any way on earth that this cancellation of the fixed routes can be stopped. Because for the last 2 weeks, Mary Tackett and I have been getting signatures on petition forms. We've got upward of 500, and that's just the people that we ran into. There's tons of people that I know ride the buses that I didn't even see in that 2 week period. Without the public fixed route buses, there's a ton of people that are going to have to quit working. They take the buses to get to work here in Independence. I work downtown, and Iris is not a door-to-door service. It's a bus route service. I can't see to walk to a bus stop in the dark to go to work. There's a lot of blind people in Independence who use share fare, which will only come to where fixed route buses are. And I've been using share fare for 11 years, so this is what they've always told me. Iris is not going to work for us. We don't have a choice. But there's a whole bunch of people who ride the fixed route, including me, and I spend all my money in Independence. But I use the fixed routes to get to those places to spend my money. Other people use it to get to their job, so they have money to spend. I just want to know what I could do as a citizen of Independence. What can I do to make this go away and keep the fixed route buses? That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Catherine Alexander, please.
I'm Catherine Alexander, 3427 South Hardy, Independence, Missouri. We meet again. The first thing that I would like to talk regarding to this transportation is that I do not mind at all, and I'm very honored to have been an accommodation person for the people who attended tonight, because there was no accommodation set up for their disability. But I'm actually here on a different matter, and I believe the gentleman over there is probably needing someone to help him fill out a piece of paper so that he can speak. But about me, what I would like to talk about is aging in place. Due to lack of urban planning, an increase in crime, which often happens to people with increasing age and just circumstance, and disability, we tend to be more likely to be victims of crime than others because we are perceived as more defenseless. Obviously, that's not always true. At age 85, 65% of us will not have a driver's license, so therefore we'll have no way to get to our medical appointments. I'm actually here because of my friend John, who is not here tonight because he is a person who is amputated on his right leg, he is stroked on his right side, and he is diabetic and moved to Independence. And because the Freedom Incorporated buses did stop showing up a couple months ago on time, I drove down to 18th and Grand to try and figure out where did this bus go and why isn't it showing up. So for the last 2 months, we have been working on how can he have the freedom to associate with his friends when he wants to. Not when somebody else wants him to, but when he wants to, which is his right as an American. He needs to have the right to worship, to associate, to work, and to play. And so this individual who has worked his entire life, for some reason or another, this situation has become a critical mass, and we are now working on buying another power wheelchair. The way that we made sure that his wheelchair worked to get him 3 blocks to where he associates is I went along with a broom. I look really good with a broom, trust me. And I swept off the sidewalks and checked the curb cuts for him and started walking him home. Economically, there is a lot of money in medical right now. And unfortunately, he will have to cancel his prosthetic appointments. He's already done that. So there goes a $10,000 appointment because that's about the cheapest prosthetic he's going to get. So those people are not always going to come to your home, nor do they want to come to your home, nor can they assess you properly in your home. 10% of the people in the labor force are in medical, according to some of the statistics I just pulled up, which were generally from government websites. 17.3% of our GDP is in medical. You start canceling all these appointments out at Centerpoint, and you're going to have clerks that are laid off that no longer have money to pay for things and pay your sales tax. 38% of Jackson County is obese. That means that they have chronic care appointments, which is at least 4 a year, plus a couple of regular doctor appointments. That's 6 appointments. Not everyone that is disabled has Medicaid to pay their way if they show up to a medical appointment. And then when the appointment is done, sometimes people will wait 2 or 3 hours for them to be able to get home. That is very unfair. It's not equal to what people without disabilities experience. I decided to come up here tonight, so I walked out of my door, got in my truck, turned over my truck, and I spent $900 and some odd to insure it for the next 6 months, but that won't last forever. So financially, eventually, I won't be driving like many of the other people in Jackson County, unless I just choose to be uninsured like many people do, or choose to be without a driver's license like other people do. So therefore, what I'm saying is this needs to be a real plan. A real plan needs to be happening. So 1 in 10 people are disabled. That's a lot of people. Plus, when you intentionally attract a lot of people with disabilities to your area because they have a regular amount of income on a regular every month, and you know that they can afford your housing, which that's a whole nother story. It makes it difficult for them to dedicate however much they can afford for transportation. There are 3 prosthetics providers that we have looked into, but the one that's going to see John came from Michigan because he can make it from Michigan easier than the prosthetics providers here can. 26 to 30% of the people in Missouri have no driver's license for various reasons, ranging from legal problems to financial problems to intellectual deficit problems to literacy problems. That is a lot of people who can't drive, but yet they still work and they need to go. I'm seeing things on Facebook, people begging so they can get a ride to their factory that starts at 6:30 a.m. because they're terrified of what's going to happen after they lose their job when they no longer have a way to get to the factory because they want to work. So I am saying I'm not sure what the situation is here, and I don't know the answer, but I'm pretty sure that the questions have not really thoroughly been looked at. And the fact that this meeting was set up, and I'm really sorry, but there should have been alternative format accommodations set up so that more people with disabilities could be here and more older people could be here. So the last thing that I'm going to say...
And Catherine, I have to say you've extinguished your 5 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that you were going to give me a 1-minute warning. That's what the piece of paper that I read to all those people did. Oh, did you? Okay. All right. So my point is, please think this over a lot more carefully.
Thank you, Catherine. Lisa Yule? Lisa Yule? Is it Yule or Yeall? Yule? Okay. And then after Lisa will be Mary Tackett, so Mary will be up next. And Lisa, you have 5 minutes, please.
Hi, I'm Lisa Ewell. I live at 11141 East 27th Street South, Independence, Missouri, and I want
If
to
you
talk
can get
about...
closer to the microphone so we can hear
Oh,
you, please.
sorry.
You can adjust it a little bit. There we go.
I'm used to being too short for everything.
No worries.
Okay, I want to talk about the buses. I have been riding the Independence bus for 12 years. I cannot afford another car, and I have no other alternatives. So if they get rid of the buses, I'm stuck. I'm on a limited income, so I can't afford the Iris. I cannot afford to spend $5 for the first 5 miles and then $2 for each additional mile. For me to get to the store would be about $10 each way. I ride the bus frequently. I am physically disabled, so it takes me about all week to get a week's worth of errands run. You know, a week's worth of groceries. It takes me 3 trips. Anything else, and I have to ride the bus to do all that. And so I see a lot of the same people on the bus all the time, and they're all in the same situation as me. You have no car. You have no money to buy a car. You know, if you could afford $10 round trip to go to each errand you have to do, you'd be able to afford to buy a car. So we're all going to be stuck sitting at home. You know, there's people who will not be able to get to the grocery store to get food. They won't be able to get to the doctor's offices, to the pharmacies to pick up prescriptions. We're just going to be lost. We have nothing else. So is there any way to keep the buses?
The city manager will address everyone's questions at the end, ma'am. But you still have time if you have anything else to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I got. There's way too many of us that have nothing else.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Tackett.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mary Tackett, and I'm with Teamsters Local 41 here in Kansas City. I represent the drivers for the buses to try to do better for them. I was raised up here all my life, here in Independence. I went to all their schools. Most of them's closed, the elementary school, and I had to go to school because my dad is American Indian and wanted to make sure we understood and believed and could read and write, which he never got to learn. So it's a little bit hard to think that there's no buses or nothing. I used to have to walk a mile to school because the buses didn't come, and we had to walk. Thank heavens they don't do that no more, you know, for the kids. I've been talking to some people, and the man that came in late, he wanted to talk because he's with the Blind Association also. He wants to make sure that people like him, not just the blind, but the handicap and the age. And some of you guys are getting closer to the age, I can see. And one of these days...
Now, Mary, hold on. You know we're friends, but I might tap you on that one, so...
Now, Mary Rowland, you know I'm a lot older than you are, so you have to respect age and
Enough
because
said.
of the old lady. Okay. It's hard for the people that they all came to Independence. It's considered an old town. Some town where you can come and have peace and not be afraid to sit on your front porch at any time, and not like Kansas City. Okay? They had the buses. They started those. And then when we finally got the buses out here, people went crazy. I mean, they got to go to the grocery store in the morning, in the evening, and of night. And now they're going to be restricted again, where they can't go to the doctors. They can call for service, and I'm sure there's lots of people here that has used that service, that it's lousy. Sometimes they come on time, Sometimes they call you, sometimes they don't. Then what do? You know, family member, or they just don't go to the doctor, or they don't get their food. We're here supposed to help represent the people within the area. You know, not just certain people, anybody. And that's what we're here for. We're to help them. We need to understand and make sure, no matter where you live, I was always told, anything over 100,000 people have to have a bus service. And I am looking that up. If it's in the government profile, if it's in Washington, I'm going to Washington, I'm going to get it, and it's going to be good. We've got to make them do it, because we do have 126,000 here in this area. So please, see if you can bring it forward and try to find somebody that is good here, or start your own service. We got people here who volunteer if they had the vehicle to do it. And they would go door to door. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next up is Glenda Diane Williams.
I am disabled, and I do my darndest, and I'm 64 years old, to be independent. I have a caseload manager, a psychiatrist, and a therapist. My caseload manager cannot take me to these places that this bus does. I live over in Fairmount. That's quite a distance to even walk down to Sterling, Chrysler, and 23rd, where CVS is at now. That's quite a distance. And if I chose to have my medicine that I have to take daily, and I have SVT heart problem that I have to take medicine, I would not be able to make it to these places to get my medicine. Right now I'm having a little bit of a trauma going on, and I'm trying to stay as calm as possible. Again, I'm bipolar 1, and if I don't take my meds, if you want to look at my background, it is not pretty. I've been staying focused, strong, and dedicated to who I am today. And with this bus service being taken, I've been feeling myself spiral. By taking these buses, it's not only against what I know that I'm going to be needing to stay independent. There's children riding these buses to get to school. I know some of the senior citizens that have no way to get to this new ride that you guys are going to propose, or whatever the fancy word is. But the point is, we need this service, not just to glorify independence, but to show Independence Council and people who run underneath it are for we the people.
Next would be Greg Hollins.
Excuse me. First of all, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to apologize for being a little bit tardy this evening, but it's pertaining to somewhat of what we're talking about. I had to rely on transportation to get here. I come from the Northland. I also represent Allied Workers for the Blind, but I represent Missouri Council of the Blind across the entire state of Missouri. And this is a very serious issue. And I know it's easy for some people to look at when they can just hop in their cars and go where they need to go. But we have so many people from either, you've heard them all today, from disabled to elderly or people that just don't drive. And when you cancel the bus system, the paratransit system is based on fixed route systems that work for people. So when you cancel the bus system, that fixed route system to help people get to their doctor's appointment or help disabled people or elderly people get where they need to go, that goes away as well. And we have to really think about this. If this is what we want for our community, and Independence has a lot of elderly and disabled people in this community. And I think we need to think long and hard before we just say we're going to get rid of the bus system for all those reasons.
Thank you, Mr. Hollins. Alicia Booker. And Alicia, you have 5 minutes, and please state your name and address. Thank you.
Is this good? My name is Felicia Booker. I wanted to talk about Iris. I ride it every day in Kansas City. It's about a half-mile radius from where you are. It does not pick up at your location, and I think that's a huge problem. Not only am I visually impaired, I'm physically disabled. There are older people that I know, friends of mine, that have to wait outside for 45 minutes with their dogs, just waiting to be picked up, sometimes never picked up. I do not think it's a good alternative for Independence, and I love the bus system here. That's all I had.
Thank you. Mary Eliezer. Mary Eliezer. Okay.
Okay. Yes, my name is Lisa Eliezer. I'm also at AWB, Allied Workers for the Blind. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. I live off of 83rd and Blue Ridge. Like some of the others already said, with this service, it would definitely impact people big time. People that wouldn't be able to get to their dialysis, which critically needs service. Cancer people that has cancer that might have not very long to live, that would need to get to and from their services. People that couldn't get to and from, groceries, medication. People even that wants to work. Us disabled and elderly people, even with the income, Social Security, it doesn't unfortunately supply all of our needs and stuff, so a lot of us has to go back to work. So, that would be a rough way trying to get back and forth to work. And most of us, elderly and disabled would not be able to walk those long distance and in the dark and stuff. Plus, it's not very safe this day and time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Lucinda Kincaid.
Thank you. My name is Lucinda Kincaid, and I live at 17700 East 17 Terrace Court South. Of course, that's in Independence, Missouri 64057. As you see here, and as you heard here, a number of people have deep concerns. And when you guys voted on this last week, I'm not sure that you would reach, I don't know, and I don't know if you've reached out to the blind community or to rehab services to ask them questions of how blind people use their services. And for instance, if Iris just drops off at bus service or bus stops, for me, if I want to die, I can cross 23rd Street South and get to my home, or from my home to the bus stop, I can choose to die. But most of us, like me, I choose to live. Here's the thing, you guys. I don't know what kind of thought you put into it, but I understand that it concerns not buying any more new buses. And I'm wondering if the COVID money that is being discussed or that's being buckled about, if that money or some of that money could be used to purchase new buses or more buses, because as you see here, there's a whole audience out here of people who represent the disabled community, the aged, the blind, who get to doctor's office, grocer's offices, work, and rehab facilities or therapies so that they can be as independent on their own as they can. And remember, independence is freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Angela Duger. I hope I pronounced that right. Is it Duggar? Okay.
Good evening. I'm here representing the people that rely on this bus system so dearly to get to and from their appointments, as all these people before me have mentioned. It's a vital lifeline for so many people, and it really came to me as a major shock when I heard that it was going to be discontinued. If there's any way that this could be reversed and our bus line could be saved, so many people would be ever so grateful and not be lost. I rely on it to get back and forth to my store for groceries, pay my bills, just to go get out of my house once in a while because I don't drive. And I've been riding the bus for 12 years. I've made friends, not only with people on the bus, but there's a lot of great people in this city that rely on this bus system. And without it, it's like stepping on our throat, and we won't be able to get where we need to. And pretty much, I think it would be a travesty to not to have the bus system because it's very essential. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Darian Hall.
Good evening, council members. My name is Darian Hall. I've been driving for Z-Trip, the company contracted by Iris to operate Iris for over a year. I am here with Stand Up KC and Missouri Workers Center. I stand with our city's union bus drivers who are losing their routes and jobs to Iris. As Iris drivers, we see firsthand how good union jobs are being replaced with unstable, low-wage work. As we organize for our own union rights, and as I ask for your support on Resolution 24-789, tonight it's important for you to understand the reality of what non-union transit work looks like. During orientation, Z-Trip said this was an opportunity to make as much money as I could. I signed up unaware of what it really meant to be an independent contractor for this company. I work 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, yet I still can't save the money I thought I would be able to. Z-Trip takes most of what I make. I pay $95 a day for the vehicle lease fee. I pay a monthly fee for the tablet that comes with the job and the fee for accessing the tablet's internet. They take $11 out of my wallet once a month for a car wash. I also have to pay a voucher processing fee multiple times a week, which means I'm handing over $50 or more per week just to get paid. Why am I paying the company to work? I also didn't expect the job to be this taxing. When I'm not working, I'm sleeping. Being overworked to the point of exhaustion is a safety hazard for me and the riders I'm responsible for. Worse yet, another Z-Trip driver was recently shot by a passenger trying to rob him. That driver was in critical condition and hospitalized. He had to start a GoFundMe just to pay the medical bills. It's clear that Z-Trip is not protecting its drivers, just like most corporations. They are more interested in their profits than treating us like people. What all workers need is a support system that includes things like health care and life insurance. Our labor has made Z-Trip the largest taxi fleet operator in the country. The least they can do is guarantee us the pay, benefits that can give us peace of mind. That's why we're coming together to demand the right to form a union without retaliation. While we regret that the union bus driver jobs are being replaced by IRS, we ask you to vote yes on Resolution 24-789. Before granting IRS any additional contracts, the city should track whether the company is respecting drivers' right to organize. Your support would help ensure IRS drivers have a real path to unionize and secure living wages, job security, and benefits that every transit worker deserves. Excuse me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If there's any questions, I'm willing to answer.
We won't have any questions at this time, but thank you,
All right,
Mr.
thanks.
Hall. Abdur Muhammad. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Good evening, council members. My name is Bakar Muhammad. I've been driving for IRIS Z-Trip for almost a year. I'm also a member of Stand Up KC and the Missouri Workers Center. First, I want to express my solidarity with the union bus drivers who are losing their route and jobs to IRIS. As IRIS driver, we've experienced how good union jobs are being replaced with unstable, low-wage positions. While we're organizing for our own union rights, and as we seek your support for Resolution 24-789, you need to hear the truth about non-union transit work. During orientation, the recruiter painted a rosy picture of what it'll be like to work for this company. But it became clear that I was sold a fake dream by a snake oil salesman. I have one wife and two young children, and as a one-income household, my family depends on me for everything. But I'm trapped in a debt despite the company overworking me and surveilling me to a point of exhaustion on a 6-day, 10 to 12-hour work shift. I'm not making nearly enough for my family to make ends meet because Z-Trip classifies me as an independent contractor to stop us from negotiating higher wages and benefits. Over half of our pre-tax income is paid back to the company in mandatory fees. I've worked over 65 hours a week because otherwise I'm almost in $3,000 in debt. My mother didn't come all the way here to America for her children to have such a hard life. She came here to give us a better life, but this isn't it. Working people like me are disproportionately shouldering the tax burden for a program that is exploiting us. That's why we're taking action with other drivers to demand the right to form a union without retaliation. Z-Trip greed affects us all, drivers and riders as well, because we know that they are getting rich off the backs of drivers, taxpayers, and riders as well. We need each other to improve the work for drivers to ensure a better public transit system. Although we're saddened that union bus driving jobs are being replaced by IRIS, we're asking your support for the resolution 24789. Before considering IRIS for additional contract, the city needs to track their treatment of organizing drivers. Your vote will help ensure we have real opportunity to unionize and to secure a living wage, job security, and benefits for all transit workers that we deserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Todd.
Hello, everybody. I'm Todd Evans. I live here in Independence. I've lived here all my life.
Todd, could I ask for your last name, please?
Evans. Evans.
Evans, thank you.
I've lived here in Independence all my life, and I drove for the IRIS program for a little over a year until July of this year when I had a stroke. And then I haven't been able to work since. The way they treated us was not worth anything because they treated us like dirt. They didn't even, they took more of the money than what I ended up making last year in my total take-home pay. They took 1.5 times what I made in take-home pay last year. Considering I made almost $74,000 and I got less than $29,000 of it to take home. And no, that is not right. All the stupid fees that they have, they took more of my money than I got to take. And I was working 6 days a week, almost 10-hour days, out there driving almost 300 miles a day, and then have to fill the tank up out of my own pocket just to be able to drive for them the next stinking day. And it's hard to pay bills when you ain't got hardly any money left over after getting paid from them, because they took most of that too, what I made for that day. So it's hard to work and live on peanuts when they don't want to pay you anything. I hate to see the bus drivers lose their career or lose their jobs, but I don't think Z-Trip should have the contract for driving here in Independence, because the dispatch screws stuff up just as much as some of the passengers when they put the information in for them to be able to get a ride. Not all of the drivers would go door to door, but if you asked nice enough, some of us would. I was one of them that would actually, if you asked me, I'd take you up and drop you right there at your door and not make you have to walk several stinking blocks. I was at least considerate enough to get them close enough they didn't have to walk a long distance. And I tried to make sure to pick everybody up, but I'd end up being clear across town and have to drive for more than 30 minutes, get there, and then the person's not there where they're supposed to be at. And then I'm stuck without the gas money to pay for having to trek clear across stinking town. It's hard to pay bills when you hardly make anything. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Enoch Dahl.
Good evening. My name is Enoch Dolly, and I want to apologize first off for being a little bit late. At 5:15 this evening, I had to be towed in due to a power steering failure. That was not part of the comments that I wanted to make, but the last 4 vans I've had nearly 300,000 miles on it from Z-Trip. And we pay $600 a week for those vans. So anyway, good evening, Independence City Council. My name is Enoch Dolly, and I'm an Independence resident. And I've been driving for Z-Trip for 2 years. And I'm with Stand Up KC in the Missouri Workers Center. I'm here in solidarity with our city union bus drivers who are losing their routes and jobs to Iris Z-Trip. As an Iris driver myself, I've witnessed how good union jobs are being replaced by precarious, low-wage work. As we fight for our own union rights, and as I urge your support for Resolution 24-789 tonight, you need to understand what non-union transit work truly means for drivers. When I signed up to be a driver, I was told I would earn $65,000 a year. They said I'd make $35 an hour. One prominent labor leader said it sounded a little like fraud, and I'll get into that, but I make closer to $16 an hour because of the fees the company charges, the $600 a week, for example, and paying for your own gas. Which means that I have to work 60-hour weeks just to scrape by. I have a family to take care of. I'm a proud father and husband, but it's hard to feel proud when you're having to put food back on the grocery shelves because the budget is tight as a bowstring. We have a charitable church, and I've gotten food from my passengers who work at food banks. We're on SNAP. I'm not used to relying on other people to make ends meet. But when you don't have, I guess when food prices are up and the pay isn't, you're stuck. It's tough juggling the bills. Plus we have home repairs to make. But when you don't have 2 nickels to rub together, that's a hard thing too, and the problems just cascade and become bigger. Me and the other drivers enjoy what we do because it connects us with the community. I love dropping blind, people off at work and picking people up from dialysis and all of that's why I stay with it. I'm fighting for a union with other drivers because I'd like to have enough to send my daughter to college, save for retirement, maybe even take a couple days off to visit my 86-year-old father without worrying about missing a paycheck. Us drivers are white, black, and brown, and no matter where we're from, we're all just trying to make it in this country as people who are committed to building a better life for ourselves and our families. Though we're troubled by union bus driver jobs being replaced by Iris, we urge you to support this resolution before extending Iris any additional contracts. The city must monitor whether the company respects drivers' rights to organize. Your vote of yes on Resolution 24-789 would help ensure Iris drivers have a genuine opportunity to unionize, to win the living wages, job security, and benefits that all transit workers should have. Thank you very much.
Okay, and Mr. Walker, I think you've been taking notes, so if you can respond to the questions, I'd be grateful.
I'll be happy to, Mayor and members of the council. Again, for those that aren't familiar, my name is Zach Walker, and I'm the city manager. I did try to capture all of the questions that were expressed. This may not be, Mr. Mayor, my most organized response, because I know it'll be a little all over the place, but I certainly assure you it'll be among my most heartfelt. There was one comment made about the challenges of getting here tonight, and as staff, we recognize that, and I do want to remind the people in attendance tonight, as well as those watching at home, that on Wednesday of this week, November the 6th, the city is hosting 2 public meetings to try to further accommodate people who have an interest in this issue. One of those meetings will be at 10 a.m. The other one will be at 3 p.m. Here at Independence City Hall. If you're unable to make it but interested, there is a mechanism to watch that meeting online. I'm not the most well-versed at explaining how that works, so I would suggest if you're interested in figuring out how that meeting works and how you could watch online, to contact the city clerk's office, and she could help explain that to you as well. Finally, if none of those options work for you, we have established a dedicated email account to accept additional sentiments. That email account is transit@indepmo.org. Again, that's transit@indepmo.org. You know, there were comments made about two different issues tonight. Certainly the issue about the Irish drivers, and as that was expressed in many of the remarks, there's a resolution addressing many of those positions on the council agenda tonight. So I will probably focus my feedback more on the public transit issue itself. You know, this is an issue that's been emerging for quite some time in our community. It's one that's been evaluated nearly every year in our annual budget process. But it's one that we have fought aggressively to keep in our budget because of the comments you heard tonight. The impact, the very real impact this has on many, many, many people in our community who rely on this service in a very vital way. But just some background about how we got to where we're at. One of the things that I think is important to recall is that unlike the federal government, here in Independence, we are mandated to have a balanced budget every year. We can't run into a deficit every year. Our money we bring in has to match the amount of money we spend. And from 2017 to 2020, our transit fare revenue dropped by 24%, while our costs increased by 10%. And in that same period, that funding gap increased by 17%. You know, there were some comments made about could we use some of our federal COVID relief money. From July of 2020 until this year, 2024, the city has infused over $5 million in one-time funding to help subsidize this program. And of that, $4.5 million was one of the COVID-related allocations that the city received. Had we not received that CARES funding to be used to support public transit, the difference between our revenue and expenses would have increased to $6.15 per mile. As it was, the gap was still $3.66 per mile. So earlier this year, the city did issue a formal request for proposals to find somebody to operate our transit system. That RFP yielded one response, which was from First Transit. And their costs were about 2 to 3 times higher than what even KCATA had estimated those would be. Next year, just to keep our transit service exactly as it were, would cost $3.3 million out of the general fund and would increase to $5.4 million out of the general fund by 2029. So as city staff, we went to work on trying to find a solution that would certainly not be perfect, but would try to address as many of the priorities as we could. The solution that we came up with contains the following. We are maintaining the 24 route that runs from the transit center to downtown Kansas City. That route's heavily utilized. It's the city's only direct connection to downtown, and then the ability to connect to other routes downtown from there. So there will be no changes to the Route 24. Next, we understood and realized the impact of paratransit for ADA and non-ADA riders. We, in our proposal that was approved by council at the last meeting, the paratransit service is maintained. There are no reductions in service for paratransit for either ADA or non-ADA riders. So anybody with a disability or anybody over the age of 65, that service remains. We are proposing going back to the pre-COVID fee structure of charging $3 a rider for that to help infuse much needed revenue so that we can sustain that program. What's changing is the elimination of the city's fixed route service. The fixed route service consists of 4 different routes that start and end at the city's transit center. That ridership in there is not insignificant. It's about, what did I write, 16,000 hours of service provided each year by fixed route. And again, the city only received the one response to providing transit services. So in order to maintain service within the City of Independence for those that don't qualify for paratransit or non-ADA transit services, that is where IRIS was the only option that was available to us to sustain that transit service within the City of Independence. Now, I'll be the first to admit that this service is far from perfect, but I'm proud that we came up with something that preserves transit services. I'm not lost, it's not lost on me that our peer cities around us have dropped transit service altogether while Independence has found a way to preserve it in some fashion. And I just want to remind the council that this is a 6-month contract that we as city staff intend to carefully monitor, to accept public input on the operation itself, and to evaluate that to see if we can look for any other future options. But something has to change. We either have to have additional revenue brought into our system, we have to cut $3.3 million out of other city services, or we have to find somebody who's willing to provide this service at a greatly reduced cost. And right now, we're working with what we believe is the best option that we can provide to the council.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. And we will be talking about the IRIS Resolution 24789 and the consent agenda, which will be coming up just in a moment. And so this does, in fact, bring us to our consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor?
Please proceed.
I move for approval of the reports or recommendations of the city manager.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
We've got a motion and a second. Are there any council members wishing to pull items for separate consideration?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
please pull item number 12.
And this one's the City Council Strategic Planning. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
item number 8, please.
Item number 8. Okay. Oh, I see. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
Under resolutions, item number 12, which is item 24790.
Councilmember Stewart already pulled that, if I'm
Oh,
correct.
I'm sorry, excuse me. 24, and number 11, 24789. Thank you.
Okay. 24789, the IRIS microtransit drivers. Is that correct? Thank you. Any other items for separate consideration? Any other items for separate consideration? Okay, seeing none. We do have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda items. Any further discussion on any of those items before we take the roll call on the consent agenda items minus the 3 items that were separate, pulled out for separate consideration? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes, and the consent agenda items pass 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And Councilmember Stewart will come to you first. Resolution 24-790, and the floor is yours.
So this is a resolution is adopting the strategic plan for the Independent City Council. I noticed that in the packet on the attachment labeled in-depth strategic agenda, if you go down to page number 3, under item number 5 of financially sustainable organization, it mentions research and evaluate the governance and operation of Independence Power and Light. And I think that was already settled with our resolution a couple of months ago. So I'm going to make a motion to amend that specific item and remove it. And then everything else will have to be moved up. But anyway, that's my motion.
Okay, so for clarification for myself and for those listening, with regards to the strategic plan, there was an item on there about changing the governance of Independence Power and Light, and you're saying we just strike this because it's already dealt with another resolution previously.
That would be correct.
Okay. Do we have a second for his motion?
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Mayor?
Please proceed.
So when the DKMT study came through and made recommendations, they brought forward several opportunities for us to re-examine the governance structure that we have at the PUAB. I don't know that we've come to resolution on that. That's just my question for clarification, both for the city manager and for you. That is how I read that item. So just asking for additional feedback.
I don't know, I read it as whether or not we're going to keep it or sell it, but I could be wrong. Mr. City Manager, could you?
You know, just as a reminder for everyone, when the council convened on this issue to work on this plan back in May, obviously we had not received the DKMT report yet, and so I understand that's why this was still included in there. What I might suggest, if Councilmember Stewart would be open to it, would be to drop the part about the operation of Independence Power and Light and say research and evaluate the governance of Independence Power and Light.
Yeah,
and that may still then leave open council's expectation that we're bringing forward information about governance and oversight of the utility, which is still to be municipally owned.
Okay, I'd be fine with that. I'll withdraw my original motion, and what he said, I'll make that motion.
Okay, so for clarification, you've dropped your original motion for the amendment, and you're going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the main item that you requested to be withdrawn, or to be considered.
No, he said that we would, I'm sorry, Zach, can you repeat that?
Yeah, so on, in the packet on page 3 of 6, under a financially sustainable organization, item number 5 would read, research and evaluate the governance of Independence Power and Light. The words "and operation" would be deleted under Councilmember Stewart's motion.
Yes, that would be my motion, to remove "and operation."
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Please proceed.
I don't believe we brought this resolution forward for approval before we're bringing it forward for amendment. So just checking to see if we're going in the correct order. Amendment first and then the resolution. Okay, thank you.
We're fine.
Are we, because
Yeah, we're
we'll
okay.
deal with this amendment first and then the main motion after that.
Thank you.
Okay. And we do have, Mr. Cover to check, we do have, in fact, have a motion and a second for the amendment as it was stated.
We need to confirm the second now that Councilmember Stewart
Has changed.
has changed his motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second for the amendment as stated by Councilmember Stewart and the city manager. Very good. Any further discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
so the first motion has been withdrawn then? Okay.
First Amendment.
First Amendment
Right.
has been withdrawn. Okay.
But if I'm correct, he's basically proposed a second amendment that was just stated by Mr. City Manager.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
Just trying to follow the football.
Absolutely. I am too. I'm with you, and I'm glad that we're having people asking for clarification.
Okay.
So very good. Anything else, Councilmember Stewart?
No, that'll be it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. If there's no other questions or comments, we will take the motion to approve the amendment to 24-790, and then we'll take the motion for 24-790 after that. So, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment.
Councilmember Fears.
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins.
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught.
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. And Councilmember Stewart's amendment to 24-790 is in fact adopted. Therefore, we'll go to the main item, 24-790, and have a motion and a second for the approval of the item.
So moved.
Okay. And do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on 24-790? Seeing no other further discussion, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll for 24-790.
Councilmember Fears.
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins.
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught.
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. And item 24-790 passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. That will bring us back to Councilmember Fears' item, and that is item number 8.
Mr. Maker,
And please proceed, Councilmember.
first like to make a motion we approve item number 8.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second approved. Thank you.
Question for the city manager here.
Please proceed.
Mr. City Manager, if you could just kind of summarize what this agreement does for between us and the school district, and also answer the question that relative to if there are any costs, direct costs to the city that we will be incurring that will not be reimbursed, or if there will be any costs at all. So.
Would be happy to. The City of Independence, as many of you know, operate a governmental access channel, City 7, that operates on Comcast platform. The Independence School District contacted the city earlier this year about using that as a shared resource for them to be able to broadcast their school board meetings. Our city staff met with representatives from the school district to understand the technical needs for us to share the capabilities of that. Because we want to be, very clear that this is a resource for public entities that, not just anybody can come and use. That is why we developed the intergovernmental agreement. Spells out, who's responsible for what and what's allowable to be aired and broadcast. This will not present any additional cost to the city. The Independent School District will be using this and their technology to share their meetings, make sure that those are able to be viewed by the public that's interested, but that will not represent or present a financial cost to the city to do so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. City Manager. So we store our meetings on our website. So I think everything we do goes to YouTube afterwards. So are we doing that for them also?
That will be something that the school district would have to decide, but if it were that case, then it would be shared on one of their platforms, because our YouTube channel is set up just to archive and share public meetings of the City of Independence.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on item number 8? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. And item number 8 is approved, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Councilmember McCandless, this brings us to 24-789. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me begin by recommending number 24789 for approval.
All right, we've got a motion. Do we have a second, please?
I second.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Madam City Councilmember, please proceed.
Thank you. As you've heard, conversation brought forward by current IRIS drivers and concerns about past IRIS drivers, I asked the city manager to bring forward this resolution requiring that the city be sure that there is an amicable and equitable resolution between the drivers and the company for the city to be able to treat its drivers fairly. I recognize that this is an inadequate and imperfect solution to transit. I'm sure Mr. City Manager is tired of talking to me since I call him regularly about this issue. I know that we have been struggling through this decision for the last several years as we have tried to figure out the financing of this. I hope that we still will be able to bring our creativity to bear to find the best solution. I will appreciate the input that we got this evening and the input that we will get tomorrow from people who rely on this form of transportation. But in the meantime, this is a resolution I hope will at least bring a small amount of assurance to the IRIS drivers as they work toward a more reasonable negotiation with the company. So for this reason, I recommend the passage of this, and I will be voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on 24-789?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Question for the city manager. Since we're entering into this with them, does this trigger in prevailing wage laws and any protections of that sort?
I may need to defer to the city attorney on that.
No, that's not going to be a factor in what we're doing here currently, sir.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Can you remind me one more time when the meetings are to discuss transit?
Yes, those meetings are this Wednesday, November the 6th at 10 a.m. and at 3 p.m. And I'll also remind those listening that those meetings are being broadcast online, so we've set up a way to access that. If you're interested in that option, I'd encourage you to contact the city clerk's office so they can ensure that you have access to the meeting. And again, if you can't make the meeting but you have feedback you would like to share, we've set up a dedicated email account, transit@ndepmo.org.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing no other further discussion, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on 24-789.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes, and 24-789 passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And that takes us to our regular agenda, and we have 24-043. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
24-043, second reading, an ordinance amending Article 3 of Chapter 5 of the City Code by enacting new sections to revise and clarify the requirements for extended stay hotels. Second reading.
Thank you. Any discussion on 24-043?
Mr. Mayor?
Please proceed.
I would like to move to table this item indefinitely. We have looked at this on several occasions and have made kind of a patchwork quilt of changes to the ordinance, and because it has been multiply amended, it's kind of hard to read. For that reason, we will table this, and ComDev will come back with a comprehensive revision of this ordinance in the future.
Okay.
Second.
So we've got a motion and a second to postpone indefinitely 24-043. Any further discussion on 24-043?
One question. Councilwoman McCandless, do you know what time frame that might be?
I know that they're still working, and I think it'll be a couple of months before it is fully polished.
Fair enough.
I would just clarify, staff believes we could have that finished for council review by the end of this year and brought forward at the first of 2025 for consideration.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on 24043? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fierce?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. And the item passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. That brings us to, if my agenda will cooperate, 24088. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
24-088, second reading, an ordinance adding a new Article 5, legal description to the Independent City Code, Chapter 10, second reading.
Thank you. Any discussion on 24088?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
to inquire of the city manager.
Please proceed.
Mr. City Manager, I know we're dealing with lots of questions about the charter and its revisions that were approved by the citizenry, and I'm just wondering, is this going to be related to the charter changes, and when should they expect a complete charter revision?
This item is part of the question that was approved by the voters this past August. Specifically, this item by the new amendment enacted by the voters moves the legal description of the city's boundaries out of the city charter and into the code of ordinances, which means that, you know, as the city potentially annexes or even de-annexes properties over the course of time, that can be amended to reflect those changes by act of city council instead of a vote of the public. I will defer to the city attorney, whose office has been working on those other amendments for a timeline on those revisions.
So we've actually, this is the, based on the changes that were approved in the charter, this is the only, the code change that we've been waiting on, and it was specifically because the legal description took some time, as you might expect. You know, and as Mr. Walker pointed out, the reason to move it into the code is because it does change from time to time, which is why the one that was in the charter was incredibly outdated. So this is part of that. Once this piece gets done, we actually already have the revised charter based on the other changes that were made. We've been waiting essentially on this piece to sort of get done and get that finalized, and then we'll have a complete, clean charter that will be, you know, available for review and use that we'll be putting out soon.
And just for clarification, I received an email that was a little confused. I just would like for you to address. Only one of the 5 questions passed. So the only changes that we are making are the ones that are consistent with the single item that passed. We are making no changes to the charter in items 2, 3, 4, and 5 that were on the citywide vote. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Thank you very much.
Any further discussion on 24088? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
Councilmember Fierce?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes, 24088 passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Brings us to 24104. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
24-104, second reading, an ordinance creating section 12.05.017 of the Independent City Code for the prohibition of trespassing on a school bus. Second reading.
Any discussion on 24104? Mr. City Manager, just fill us in on why do we need this?
Let's just be clear. There's not been any trespassing on school buses that we're aware of. There's not an incident that triggered this item, but the school district did reach out to the city and request this as a preventative measure, you know, we're aware of things that happen in other parts of the country, and this gives the police department some certain authorities should an incident like that transpire. Somebody who's not authorized to be on the bus that comes on there, this would define that in our code and have penalties as such. So this is just a collaboration between City of Independence and Independence School District.
Very good. Thank you.
To add to what Mr. Walker said, there were already city code provisions in place that could have been utilized should an incident occur. However, this just makes it very specific and very clear that this is not an activity that is permitted within the City of Independence.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any further discussion on 24-104? Seeing no further discussion, Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes, 24-104 passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed, brings us to 24-105. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
24-105, second reading, an ordinance adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget, which was approved by ordinance number 19561, second reading.
Thank you. Any discussion on 24-105, please? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes, 24-105 passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed, brings us to 24-106. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
24-106, second reading, an ordinance adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget, which was approved by ordinance number 19453, second reading.
Thank you. Any discussion on 24-106? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes, and 24-106 passes 7 in favor, 1 opposed, or excuse me, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And this will bring us to Councilmember comments. Councilmember Stewart, any comments for this evening?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm assuming everybody knows tomorrow's kind of an important day for the United States. For those that don't know, tomorrow is the NFL trade deadline. So for all those who root for a certain team, I really hope that your team makes the right trades and, you know, gets everything done and makes their team better. But in all seriousness, I think everybody knows tomorrow's election day. We're going to vote for a president and, you know, a lot of other people in office. So just please, if you haven't yet, get informed and vote. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stewart. Councilmember Fears?
Nothing in addition to what Councilmember Stewart said.
Okay, very good. Councilmember Vought?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This past Saturday, I, along with Councilmembers Wiley, McCandless, and Mayor Rowland, joined the Independence Fire Department and the American Red Cross to walk through neighborhoods around Salisbury and 24, engaging residents about fire safety. We checked existing smoke alarms and installed new ones for those in need, emphasizing the importance of fire prevention. This outreach was especially impactful given the tragic fatal fires that occurred in Independence this year. And I was actually surprised, I shouldn't have been, but that some residents had no smoke alarms at all or had just never changed the batteries, a simple yet vital tool in preventing such tragedies, especially now that we are headed into the colder months and the use of space heaters. And I wanted to give a special thank you to Chief Walker, the American Red Cross, and the Sound the Alarm campaign for their commitment to keeping our community safe. Also, I'd like to thank the volunteers that were from Whiteman Air Force Base, the students from the Fort Osage Fire Sciences, and then there were many other volunteers. And then I just want to remind residents who do not have smoke alarms, encourage them to contact the Independence Fire Department or the American Red Cross for assistance in obtaining one. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wiley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to add to what Councilmember Vought said. There is still a phone number you can call if you need fire detectors. It's 816-325-7123. They will install them for you. They will check your existing smoke detectors, so that is still available. And then I just want to add to what Councilmember Vaught said. It was a great morning. We did a lot of work, met a lot of people, and I walked with 2 students from the Fort Osage Fire Science and EMT Academy, Andre and Mac. I was really impressed with their professionalism, and I mean, it was not a small thing. We walked for about 4 hours, so I wanted to give a shout out to them. Also, my mom's here.
Hi, Mom.
My mom is here, Georgia McCauley, so I just wanted, yes. That's all, thank you.
Is she here for Scouts as well?
Pardon me?
Is she here for Scouts as well?
Yeah.
And I would like it to be noted for the record that she stayed for the entire meeting.
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have lots and lots of dedicated employees in the City of Independence, and we sign lots of recognitions for people who retired. But I came across one today. I just had to give a shout out to Randy Johnson from IPL, who is retiring with 45 years of service to the City of Independence. We will not see his like again, who lasts that long. So I just want to be sure, Mr. Hagendeffer, if you would pass on our great appreciation, that would be wonderful. Thank you. I went to the graduation for Youth Court, joined by Councilmember Wiley, Chief Duskman, and a number of his officers, and it was terrific. We celebrated 37 new youth attorneys. So these are junior high and high school students who participate in the youth court program, meaning they represent both sides, the young person who has been accused of having an offense, and then they have the prosecutor on the other side, and there is a youth judge who works in partnership with Judge Susan Watkins. She has run this program since 1984. It is a national model, and people come to see how well we have done. It was a terrific evening. We are raising some amazing young people in this town, and the best part is the youth offenders who come in are being judged by their peers and sentenced to an activity that is appropriate for reparations, and we hope we never see them again. And that is exactly what you're hoping for, is to intervene early so that young people have an opportunity to get things right. Thank you to IPD for a great trunk or treat activity. Thank you to the Chamber for a wonderful Halloween parade. And I want to wish my sweet husband happy anniversary today for 24 wonderful years of putting up with me in my many adventures. So thank you.
Well, happy anniversary. Would you like to take a moment to say hi to your husband?
No, he's probably watching the Chiefs game.
We'll have to bring him back to put it on YouTube, and you had your moment. All right, very good. Councilmember Perkins, you have to follow that.
Oh, boy, I'll just stick with what I was going to say here. So, thank you, Mayor. So last week, met with Kansas City Home Builder Association with city staff, and we're going to meet up quarterly with a lot of the different housing issues and stuff that we have here in Independence. It's good to sit down and meet with the folks that are working within our city, and they can give us their feedback, and we can give feedback to them. So that'd be good stuff. I want to do a shout out to our municipal services, Lisa and Zach. We've talked about that, Mr. City Manager. Steve, our construction manager, he was very responsive a couple of weeks ago, working and doing some street work and some grading that needed to be done, that he was able to find time and to get it done more quickly than we anticipated. So thank you for being so responsive, and the citizens out there really appreciated that type of quick work. So a big thank you. And that's it. I can't follow anything else up.
Very good. And I just want to give a shout out to the Mid-Continent Public Library. They did a genealogy background of my family. I'm not going to go into a bunch of details tonight because this is a Chiefs game, but I'll talk about it at the next council meeting and go from there. And then I just wanted to say thank you to all the council members who actually covered all of the events that we all jointly went to, so that was excellent. With that, Mr. City Manager, I will turn the floor over to you.
I would like to encourage the community to tune in to our study session next week. It's coming on a Tuesday because of the Veterans Day holiday, but there are 3 very important topics being discussed. The Council Citizen Advisory Committee for the General Obligation Bond will be making their recommendation. The master developer for the Independence Square will be presenting their final plan, and we will be sharing our recommendation for the future restructuring of the city's tourism function. So all 3 of those having massive, major future impacts on the community. Hope as many folks that are able can tune in and be a part of that conversation. Nothing further tonight, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And with that being said, we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.